It's the Jonny Yerly Show!
You got it, John. Now we're at the apiary on the farm. Right behind us, I have 4 hives currently. Sorry, I interrupted. I didn't know what you wanted to. Did you want?
No, tell us about the beehives
Okay.
here. Tell us about this little operation.
Operation we got here.
Yeah.
So it was probably 2019. Me and my brother Luke started our first hive. We got in. I know one of your questions was how did we get interested in it, and my brother Luke had always, like, since 2016 when we first moved here, he's always like, you should do bees, you should do bees. I was really never interested in it just because of the fear factor of getting stung. Yeah. But he got me a Beekeeping for Dummies book for Christmas one year. And as I started reading that book, I couldn't put it down. And I don't like to read books because I like to be doing stuff. But that book, I couldn't put it down. So then that was in December. And then the following April, we got our first hive. The first year we started off with 1 hive and then progressively grew each year. So yeah, that's how we started.
So your brother Luke Tomsha helps a lot at the beehives. I do notice on Jonny, I don't know if you notice this, but on Angie's Instagram page for Bornemann Farms, and Angie and Luke will share a lot. Luke tends to get stung a lot. Do you see those videos? Huh?
Yeah.
Do you? Kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe it hurts. But he gets pretty. He's allergic, isn't he?
Yeah, I would say that Luke is very allergic to bees. He has since grown up and he purchased a full complete bee suit.
Grew up.
As before, he had like old pieces from several people, and so they had holes in them. He had duct tape on his mask. On his hood. God. Yeah, so this year I am happy to say Luke has not gotten stung yet. So
that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you had another question for Angie.
Do I ever get stung? Yeah, I've gotten stung plenty of times. And the worst one I would say probably was last year when I decided to try a new pair of gloves at the hive when we opened up the hives, and they weren't leather, which my other ones were. And immediately when I opened up the hive, I got stung 8 times in one hand.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So my hand was pretty swollen for a couple of weeks. But other than that, a bee sting here and there, I'm not very allergic at all, so it doesn't bother me too much.
Next question Jonny had was, how long does it take to make honey?
All right. It takes so that's kind of a loaded question. Okay. Let's start out with there's 3 main bees that are in a hive. The queen, the worker bees, which are all females, and then the drones, which are all males who their only job is to mate with a queen, I'm sorry. So the females do all the work in the hive. They take care of the queen. They go out every day in the field to pollinate flowers, bring back pollen and nectar into the hive. They take care of baby bees. So it's a process. It's a kind of in-depth process, but they each member of the hive has different jobs. So usually we harvest honey in early or later spring, later spring, and then in the fall we harvest honey. So it takes several of months for the bees to get sufficient amount of honey for the hive. You see Chad's drone is up in the air.
Angie's husband Chad just decided to bring this drone in to watch us do the podcast today. Wave to Chad. So another thing Angie does, so we talked about she's got eggs, she's selling eggs, she's got a flower business that she's selling subscription to flowers. Mm-hmm. She also packages up this honey, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
And sells the honey. Yeah. Have you ever had any of the honey, Johnny? No?
No?
I know your mom does. I know
your mom hides it from you guys.
Yeah, your mom hides it because she doesn't want to share that. So how can people get honey from you?
That's probably the most, I'm kind of cutting in your question, but extracting honey is probably the most time-consuming job on the farm, because you have to take the frames out, and usually I like to have at least 20 frames before I extract any honey. You have to scrape it, then you have to put it in a spinner that spins the honey out, and then you have to strain it, and then you bottle it. So
does it heat, when you scrape it off of those frames, mm-hmm. Does it go through like a heating thing to get it to the texture that it is?
No, so ours is pure raw honey, so okay. Nothing is heated, so it is straight from the hive. I put it through a strainer, so it strains out any like wax or any particles that are in there, but it's pure raw honey. You can get it at Baruki's restaurant. I have it right up at the hostess station there. You can get it there for $10 a bottle for an 8-ounce bottle. And it's a very light honey because we have alfalfa that mainly is the pollinating source for the bees. But the bees can travel up to at least 3 miles every day to pollinate flowers and all that good stuff. Or you can contact me on Instagram or Facebook for honey, and I do front porch farm pickups too.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. What else, Johnny? Anything else you want to know about the bees?
No.
That's good? What do you say to Ange?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming out here and having me as your second what do you call it? Guest on the show.
This is going to be a big one, isn't it, Johnny?
Yeah.
What do you want to tell everybody?
See you next time on the Jonny Yerly Show.